I'm going to show you how to get the Platinum Trophy in The Last of Us Part 2 by collecting all 286 collectibles and completing all 6 mission-specific trophies. To do this, I'm going to heavily rely on YouTube's Chapters feature, and if you don't know what that is, all that is I'm going to put a list of timestamps in the description, so that if you're looking for something specific, all you need to do is press and hold on the timeline down below and scrub the video to skip to the part that you want. And if you take a look at those chapters right now, you'll see that first we're going to start with some general tips and tricks and most importantly settings to help you with getting the trophies. And then after that, we're going to move on to an overview of every single trophy in the game. Finally, we're going to go through each and every level in the game to show you where every collectible is hidden, all in one guide, to make it as easy as possible for you to get everything in the game with just one video. One last thing before we get started, this is a Platinum Trophy guide, so there are going to be spoilers throughout this video. I'm going to try to keep the spoilers as minimal as possible, but there are a few, so that's just something to be aware of. Let's talk about a few general tips for collecting these trophies, as well as some settings that you can use to make your trophy hunt as easy as possible. First, there are no difficulty-based trophies. You can play through the entire game on the very light difficulty, and use aim assist on every single enemy, and still collect all the trophies. You can also take advantage of as many of the accessibility options as you would like. I would recommend enabling the high contrast display under the magnification and visual aid section, as well as the enhanced listen mode in the navigation and traversal section. You can swipe left on the touchpad to toggle the high contrast display on and off. When you activate the high contrast display, what happens is the entire environment gets drawn out to this kind of a light washed out gray color, and any collectibles in the environment are highlighted in yellow. This makes it very easy to spot different things in your environment. But if you're still having trouble with that, you can still use the Enhanced Listen mode. Enhanced Listen mode enables the ability to scan for items and enemies while in Listen mode. Using the default controls, you would be holding in R1 to be in Listen mode, then you simply press the circle button on the PlayStation controller to activate Enhanced Listen mode. This sends out a ping which will show you the location of all nearby items. This includes all the collectibles that we're going to find, so if you're having trouble looking for something, I would strongly recommend using the Enhanced Listen mode as well as the high contrast display to help find every collectible in the game. One thing to be aware of while you're playing the game is that there are parts in just about every level where you can't go back. So for example, there might be a door that you have to squeeze through and then it's locked and you can't go back that way. If this happens to you, that means you are going to miss that item for now, but don't worry because once you finish the game, you unlock a chapter select. So it's not a huge deal, you don't miss the trophy forever or anything like that. The very last general tip that I have for you is that when you finish the story, you unlock New Game Plus. Playing New Game Plus will let you start the game over again, keeping all guns and skills that you unlocked during your first playthrough. When you complete the game will also ask if you would like to save your progress. It is critically important that you answer yes to this question, because that chapter select that I just talked about is based on your autosave file, so if you start New Game Plus, you will lose your chapter select unless you hang on to a copy of the game that's saved at the end and then load it. Now this might sound confusing, so let me explain it another way. As you play through the game is going to automatically save your progress. If you're on the title screen and you decide to diverge from your autosave and load a chapter, you'll only be able to load those chapters up to the point where your autosave file is. That means that if you roll over the game and start New Game Plus, you're only going to be able to select the first couple of chapters in the game. That's why when you complete the game, you should always save a copy and make sure that you never ever delete it. This will give you the ability to load that saved game later so that you can use the chapter select feature. So if you don't want any other spoilers at all, then I suggest you pause this video, bookmark the page, and come back after you've completed the game. To unlock the Platinum Trophy in The Last of Us Part 2, you need to unlock 25 other trophies first. I broke these trophies down into 3 different categories. First, you have 11 prerequisite trophies, and what I mean by a prerequisite trophy is you have to get these trophies in order to get to other trophies, so as long as you're doing everything in this guide, there's really no need to worry about them. These trophies include What I Had to Do, which is just for completing the story. You've also got Apprentice, which you unlock after learning one player skill upgrade. You've got Specialist, which is what you get after you unlock all these skill upgrades in one branch. You've also got Survival Training, which is to learn 25 total player upgrades. Up next we have Tinkerer, which is what you get when you make your first weapon upgrade. Mechanist, when you fully upgrade any weapon. There's also Starter Set, when you collect your first 5 trading cards. Mint Condition, when you collect your 5th coin. We've also got In the Field for finding 12 workbenches. High Caliber for finding all the weapons in the game. And Journeyman once you find all of the training manuals. The second category of trophies are for mission-specific trophies, and I'm going to cover each one in detail in their specific mission. But just so you know the names of these trophies, we have So Great and Small, Sightseer, Looks Good on You, Sharpshooter, Put My Name Up, and Relic of the Sages. Finally, rounding out our trophies with the third and final category, we have the 8 main or major trophies in the game. These are the ones to keep in mind at all times while you're playing the game. And the first 2 are special because they actually are going to require you to play New Game Plus. Those 2 trophies are Arms Master and Survival Expert. Arms Master requires that you fully upgrade all weapons and you have all fully upgraded weapons in your inventory at the same time. Survival Expert is similar, it requires that you have every single player's skill upgrade unlocked. You've also got the Master Set Trophy, which requires you to find all trading cards, Archivist, which requires you to find all artifacts and journal entries, and keep in mind that the artifacts and journal entries are combined into one trophy. Numismatist requires you to find all coins, Safecracker requires you to unlock every safe, Prepared for the Worst requires you to find all workbenches in the game, and finally, Tools of the Trade requires you to craft every craftable item in the game. And the easiest way to unlock the Tools of the Trade trophy is just to craft every item as soon as you find the recipe for it. To get all of these major trophies, you're going to need at least 1.5 playthroughs of the game. This took me a total of about 40 hours. The first time I played through the game, it was on the hard difficulty, just because I like a little bit of a challenge. And the reason that you need 1.5 playthroughs of the game is pretty simple. In order to fully upgrade all weapons and all player skills, you need to find spare parts and pills around the map, and you just don't have enough in one playthrough of the game to unlock everything. But those are the only trophies that require everything to be in your inventory at once in order to unlock the trophy. For the trading cards, the artifacts, the journal entries, everything else, it doesn't matter as long as you've opened that safe or found that workbench on any one of your saved game slots, it gets counted. And this wouldn't be a complete trophy guide without me calling out how many of each of these items there are. You've got 127 total artifacts, 20 journal entries, 48 trading cards, 25 workbenches, 14 safes, 8 training manuals, 32 coins, and 12 weapons. Now it's time to walk through each chapter. But we've got a lot of collectibles to find, and if for some reason you can't find something using this guide, I'd highly recommend checking out the IGN guide, which is the guide that I referenced while I was playing through the game. I would like to give IGN a huge shout out for making great guides for way more games than I could ever cover. There's a link to that guide in the description down below. The first chapter, called Jackson, has 7 sections. The first section, the prologue, has no collectibles. The second section, called Waking Up, has 2 trading cards and 1 artifact. There's a trading card as soon as you enter the main street to the left. There's an artifact next to a ladder. And there's a trading card on a barrel. The third section is called the Overlook, and it only has 1 artifact. This artifact is found right after the abandoned house where you have to crawl through, and all you have to do is jump through the window and look on the desk. In section 4 of chapter 1, we have Patrol. This section has 6 artifacts, 2 trading cards, 2 journal entries, and our very first workbench, as well as a safe. And this chapter starts out with Ellie and Dina talking at the top of a balcony. You can get a journal entry if you look at the tree here. In the abandoned town, which is an entirely optional area, you can find a trading card as well as an artifact. There's a truck that you need to climb on top of to get to the top of the supermarket. Instead, if you go into the back of the truck, you'll find an artifact. Inside the supermarket, you'll learn the recipe to craft health kits, and there will be a safe. There's also an artifact right next to the safe, which has the safe code. The combination for this safe is 72013. Continue to move through the supermarket. Eventually, you should also unlock the recipe for the Molotov cocktail. After you get out of the supermarket, you will eventually come to a library. The library contains the final 3 artifacts, 1 journal entry, 1 trading card, and workbench for this section. By the time you get to the workbench, you should already have enough parts to upgrade 1 weapon. This will earn you the Tinkerer trophy. Make sure that you have all of these items before continuing down to the basement. After you do go into the basement, you're going to get a cutscene, and that's going to take you into the next section, which is called the Horde. There are no collectibles here, and the same is true for the next section, which is called the Chalet. After you've returned from the Chalet, you're going to be in the last section of Chapter 1, which is called Packing Up. There are 2 journal entries, and there is 1 artifact in this section. You'll find 1 journal entry at the coffee cup next to the sink in the kitchen, and the other one at the guitar upstairs. Once you've gotten those 2 journal entries, go ahead and interact with the item on the bed to collect the artifact and progress the story into Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is called Seattle Day 1, and the first section, called The Gate, has 6 artifacts, 4 trading cards, and 1 journal entry. The first trading card is at a bus stop right at the beginning of the level. The second trading card and a map of Seattle, which is an artifact, are in a trailer that you come across right as you get to this North Seattle interstate sign. As you come up to the wall, there will be a large WLF sign. That's going to be a journal entry for you. Before you climb over the wall, you should search the trailers. You should find 2 more artifacts in those trailers. After you climb over the wall and enter the guard tower on the opposite side, there will be a ladder going up. At the area in the top of the ladder, you can find a trading card and another artifact. Inside the trailer, all the way at the bottom of that guard tower, you're going to find another artifact, which you actually need to complete the game. This artifact is going to have different gate codes on it. And the very last artifact in this section is one of the more difficult artifacts to find, and it's really easy to not even realize that this area is up here, but what you want to do is you want to take the power cord for the generator and throw it over the wall here so you can climb up to the top of this trailer. And be sure that you do that before you plug in the second generator for the main gate, because once you do that, there's no way to unplug it and there's no way to get on top of that trailer. The second section of Seattle Day 1 is by far the largest section in the game, so plan on spending quite a bit of time here. You're going to have to track down 18 artifacts, 5 trading cards, 2 journal entries, a workbench, and 3 safes. This section is also home to the Sightseer Hidden Trophy, which you'll obtain once you travel to every area. While playing this section, you want to go ahead and pull out your map of Seattle that you should have grabbed during the previous section, and use that as a guide. The first artifact is at the little guard shack at the very beginning of this section. Once you get into the downtown section, you want to turn left and head for the little building right next to this bank. You should be able to find 1 artifact right outside the bank, and then some artifacts inside the bank. Inside the bank, we've also got our first pickup weapon, and that is a pump shotgun. The pump shotgun is inside the safe at the bank, and the code to get into that bank is going to be on an artifact you find right outside the door, and that combination is 60-23-6. Be sure to do a really good job exploring inside the bank vault because there are 2 more artifacts in there. One is a letter from a bank robber, and the other one is an antique ring, which also unlocks a second hidden trophy in this level called So Great and Small. After you finish at the bank, you want to leave and go directly behind the bank, and there's going to be a tank. Go ahead and explore the inside of the tank to see what you can see in there, and then look around on what appears to be a stairway right by the tank, and you'll find another artifact. There's another abandoned/collapsed building. This is in about the middle of the downtown area. Go ahead and climb up there and you should find yourself a nice trading card. In the same kind of general area, there's going to be an abandoned fire truck. There's going to be what looks like a rope attached to the fire truck, which you can use to climb down and find a trading manual on the platform underneath. Continuing along the river, you'll find a truck which has got some dead bodies inside of it. There's an artifact in there. There's also an abandoned music shop with a trading card in it, and a workbench in some military-style tents just across the street from the music shop. About halfway in between the workbench and the music shop, there's an artifact in one of the drawers, and you should also be able to pick out a journal entry if you look out at the horse. If you go all the way to what appears to be the northwest end of town, there's going to be a coffee shop. Inside the coffee shop, you can find a trading card as well as an artifact. On the other side of the courthouse, there's a stairway, and at the top of the stairway is an artifact. And on the far west side, you'll find an abandoned gate with a safe. The code to enter the safe is 0451. At this point, you can go ahead and backtrack to Barco's, which is a pet store located right by the music store. Go ahead and loot Barco's for some supplies and another artifact. Now that we've explored and collected all the collectibles from the optional areas, let's go ahead and go to what they call the Dome, which is really a synagogue. Before you go into the synagogue, there's a little tower right outside where you will find the recipe for the stun bomb. And in the drawer, there could be an artifact. That artifact could also be inside the synagogue next to a little TV right after you clear the first puzzle area. After you clear that first puzzle area, there's going to be a rope that you swing across. Once you swing across the rope, go ahead and turn right. That'll take you into the rabbi's office, and there are 2 artifacts in there. Exit the synagogue. Go ahead and head to the courthouse. You're going to have to take the window to get inside. And you're ultimately going to be making your way into an elevator, but before you go into the elevator, you should find several dead bodies, and one of them has been holding on to one of your artifacts. Right by that artifact, there's a window you can bash open, and once you get to the other side of that window, there's going to be a safe. The combination for that safe is 86-722, and there are also going to be a couple of artifacts in this room. One of the artifacts is on a dead body, and the other one is in the drawer of the file cabinet. Once you've gotten all these artifacts, go ahead and go down to the basement and do what you gotta do. And at that point, you need to go put the gas in the generator to continue to the next section. Once you go out that gate, you can't come back into the downtown area, so be sure that you're ready to proceed. Before you do that though, since we're a pretty good ways into this video, I'd like to take the time right now to ask you to go ahead and help me out by leaving a like on this video and subscribing to the channel if you'd be interested in seeing more videos like this one. The third section of Chapter 2 is called EASTBROOK Elementary, and there are only 3 artifacts and 1 trading card. Immediately after this section begins, you're already going to have 2 of the artifacts, so don't worry about those. You're going to need to fight your way out of this area and back onto the streets. Right before you get back onto the streets, there's a little window, or maybe it's a vent that you crawl through. The artifact is on the table right before you climb out of the window, so be sure to pick it up before you climb out. And right after you climb out of the window, you're going to have to jump across the street and go into a sliding glass door. Just inside that door, there's a bedroom with a bunch of leaves, and in the drawer of the nightstand, you can find the trading card. From there, you just need to drop down onto the street, and that's going to take you to Section 4, which is called Capitol Hill. Capitol Hill contains 7 artifacts, 6 trading cards, 2 workbenches, and 1 safe. Search the apartments here for 1 trading card in a drawer on the lower level of apartment 3. And in a different apartment complex, there's going to be an artifact in the bedroom at the top floor. You'll know you're in the right building because there will be a giant trail of blood on the lower level. After you pick up the trading card and the artifact from the apartments, go ahead and move on to the motel. Enter the back alley of the motel and go through the window of room 3 to find a trading card right next to the door. On the other side of the motel parking lot, there's a dumpster you can use to climb into an apartment. And in this apartment, you'll find an artifact as well as the recipe for trap mines. Once you're finished in that apartment, go ahead and take the dumpster and use that to move on to the next area. This area's got a few different places of interest as well as several enemies. There's a workbench at the gas station. In the bookstore, you've got a trading card, a training manual, and an artifact. Once you pick up all these things and upgrade your items at the workbench and the gas station, then head to the grocery store. The grocery store is in an area that's kind of hard to find until you know where it is, and it's unusual because you have to kind of drop down and go in through what used to be the roof of the grocery store. Toward the back of the store, you'll find some lockers, probably for former employees, and one of them will have a trading card in it. Once you've collected all these things, it's okay to move on to the next part of this section, and you'll know you're in the right part when you start seeing enemies getting blown up by tripwires. Move slowly, and if you need help finding the tripwires, you can always use the high contrast mode that we talked about earlier in the video. In the store right after the first tripwire, there should be a trading card, and before you jump into the little ditch, there's going to be a guard tower. Climb up the ladder of the guard tower to get an artifact. At that point, you can slide down, cross over, and head toward this military truck. In the back of the truck, you're going to find another artifact. Continue playing, dodging all the tripwires until you come to a gym. Inside the gym, you're going to find another workbench as well as an artifact. And just beside the gym, there's going to be a thrift store. That thrift store is going to contain a trading card, an artifact, and a safe. The combination to the safe is 55, 1, 33. The next section of Seattle Day 1 is called Channel 13, and there's only 1 artifact and 1 trading card. The trading card can be found on this computer desk, and the artifact is found close to the end of this section on the long sofa. Section 6, The Tunnels, has 5 artifacts, 3 trading cards, 1 journal entry, and 1 workbench. You're going to be playing through this section a little while before you find the first artifact. In fact, it's after the first skirmish that you have with the enemies. This artifact is the first of several notes to a person named Jules, and this artifact is attached to the left wall of one of the subway train cars. The second collectible is a trading card, which is underneath one of the trains at the dead end. Right after you find that trading card, there's going to be a ladder. Go up the ladder, turn right, and that's going to lead you into the workbench location. Once you're done with the workbench, go ahead and swing across the gap and go to the next area. There's going to be another skirmish here, and at the end of that, you can look at the remains of your enemies to get another journal entry. After that journal entry, you're going to go down a long hallway. Inside one of the rooms, we've got a storage area, which you can crawl underneath to collect a trading card. After that, you're going to encounter an employee lounge, which is going to have an artifact on the table, as well as an artifact inside one of the vending machines, and another one next to the microwave. There's also a locked door in this area that you can open up. The code to that door is 15243. Once you're finished in the employee lounge, you're going to go ahead and drop into another area. In here, there's going to be another subway car that you have to crawl under to get a trading card, and 1 more artifact on your way out. After exiting the tunnels, you're going to enter Section 7 of Chapter 2, called The Theater. Inside the theater, you can find 4 artifacts and 2 trading cards. Next to a mannequin, there's a crate which has an artifact. You can also break the cabinets behind the concession stand to find a trading card. Upstairs in the theater, you can find an artifact on a table next to a tent. and you can find a trading card underneath the sofas. After you get the power connected, interact with the radio to find another artifact. And at the very end of the chapter, check the crates right on top of the stage for the final artifact of this section. That takes us to the final section of Chapter 2, which is called the Birthday Gift. The Birthday Gift is home to 1 artifact, 2 trading cards, 2 journal entries, and 1 hidden trophy. And Joel's got a big surprise for Ellie in this chapter, so if you don't want a spoiler, go ahead and play until you figure out what the surprise is and then come back to the video. Alright, did you figure out the surprise? That's right, he's taking her to the museum. And right outside that museum, there's a giant T-Rex on display, which is going to be your first journal entry. Just inside the museum, there's a gift shop on the right with a hat. Grab the hat and continue on into the next room to obtain the hidden trophy. And to get this hidden trophy, this is called Looks Good on You. All you need to do is put the hat on a couple of different dinosaurs and then approach Joel and press the triangle button. Eventually, Joel will wear the hat and you'll get the trophy. At the end of the main dinosaur exhibit room, turn right and there's going to be a bench with a trading card on it. Once you're upstairs, approach the half-circle bench to get another journal entry. At this point, there's going to be a pretty lengthy cutscene, and our next item is going to be after that cutscene and after you jump into the water. On the other side of the water, there's going to be another section of the museum. The first big exhibit of this museum is going to have a moose surrounded by wolves. Go to the right and you'll find a trading card underneath one of the benches. Continue playing through this area, enjoying the ambiance and the storyline. Toward the end, there will be a large butterfly exhibit, and there will be an artifact right next to it. That's going to be the final artifact for this chapter. Next up, we have Seattle Day 2, and the first section is called HILLCREST. HILLCREST contains 10 artifacts, 5 trading cards, 1 journal entry, 2 workbenches, and 1 safe. The very first collectible is going to be a trading card on the truck right behind where you spawn, so just turn around and you should be able to find it through the window there. Next up, we're going to loot some local businesses. Inside the Majestic Laundromat, we've got an artifact. We've also got an artifact as well as a workbench inside a store called Rosemont. In the next area, there's going to be a large banner, which counts as a journal entry. After you get that journal entry, turn left and go through the pit. There's going to be a store here called Caroline Paper Company. As you might expect with a paper company, there's going to be a trading card in the very back of the store, and there's also an artifact right there on the counter. Double back to that giant banner, and there should be a bookstore right next door. There's another artifact on the counter in here. Finish up with this area, and you're going to go through a skirmish. At the end of that skirmish, go ahead and loot the next area. Proceed through the big red doors. And eventually you're going to enter a bicycle shop. Inside this bicycle shop, you're going to come across an artifact, a trading card, and a workbench. Once you've visited all 3, go ahead and leave the bicycle shop and go through the Gold Star Liquor Store. There's a hole you can drop into in the back of this store. When you come out the other side, there's going to be a training manual next to this rotting, fetid body. On a table in the back of the tattoo parlor, there's another artifact for you. And there are 2 artifacts for you inside the pet grooming store. One of these artifacts will lead you to a safe at the auto repair shop. The auto repair shop is right behind the Sheer Lux building, and the safe inside can be opened with the code 308265. Now you can go ahead and go up the large staircase and look for a trading card hidden on the backside of a children's playhouse before entering any big houses. Once you enter the home next to the children's playhouse, there are going to be 2 artifacts. You're going to want to grab both of these before you head into the garage. The final collectible in HILLCREST is a trading card in the middle of a small neighborhood turned battlefield. This trading card is underneath the bed on the 2nd story of house number 1214. The second section of Seattle Day 2 only has 1 artifact, 1 trading card, and 1 journal entry. This section is called Finding Strings. As soon as the section begins, just head to the right and you'll be able to pick up the journal entry. Later on, right before you go into the hotel, look in the back seat of this white car for a trading card. And then once you're in the hotel, go into room 107 to find an artifact. The third section of Seattle Day 2 is called the SERAPHITES. This section contains 7 artifacts, 6 trading cards, 3 journal entries, 2 workbenches, and 2 safes. And as of the time of this video, the IGN walkthrough incorrectly states that there are 8 trading cards in this section. At the beginning of the level, there's a convenience store. On one of the shelves in the convenience store, you can find a trading card. Killing the clickers inside the Kingsgate Brewing Company will give you another artifact. Inside the conference center, you can get a journal entry when you see the Feel Her Love sign. You can also use a makeshift rope to swing across to collect an artifact, as well as a trading card. Once you've collected all that, exit the conference room and continue up the street. There are going to be some locked doors to the apartments on your left, but you can still make it onto the platform above, break the window, and climb in. There's an artifact on the table inside. In this area, you should also be able to find an artifact next to the TV, a training manual on the bed, and a workbench in the kitchen. Once you're finished in the apartment, go ahead and continue to play through the game. The next collectible isn't for quite a ways away, and it's going to be an automatic journal entry once you get there. Right after that journal entry, there's going to be an area where you have to drop down. Once you get down to the bottom, there's going to be some glass you can break, which is going to get you past a locked door and onto another trading card. After you collect this trading card, go ahead and continue, and there are going to be a couple of combat sections, there's going to be a cutscene, and eventually you're going to come to a wooded park area. At the end of the park, look to the left and you'll be able to pick up a journal entry when you see this dead body. After that, you're going to need to go through the buildings across the street. Upstairs, you'll be able to find an artifact as well as a trading card. The trading card is going to be next to this little table here, and the artifact is going to be through some windows. There are several more areas to explore, as well as some enemies to fight here, and the next time you'll need this guide is when you're swimming past a pharmacy. Once you get to the part where you're swimming in the pharmacy, you're going to want to go up into the pharmacy, where you can find a trading card on the other side of the cash register. Then you're going to find an artifact right next to the cash register on the employee side of the counter, and it's going to tell you the safe combination for the safe in the back room. That combination is 38, 55, 23. Go ahead and open that safe, turn around, and you should see a workbench in the same area. Once you leave the pharmacy, go ahead and make your way to the hospital, and the final artifact in this chapter is going to actually be all the way at the hospital. There's an area where you have to climb into a little vent, and right before that area there's going to be a counter next to a sofa, and the artifact is going to be right there on that counter. The final section of Seattle Day 2 is called St. Mary's Hospital. There are no collectibles in this section. Chapter 4 is called Seattle Day 3, and the first section of this chapter is called Road to the Aquarium. This section contains 3 artifacts, 4 trading cards, 1 journal entry, and 2 workbenches. The very first trading card is right at the beginning of the level before you even exit the backstage area. It's going to be to your left just before you exit the red curtains. The second collectible is another trading card, and it's going to be up in this building on the right, and you're going to have to crawl under some debris to get to it. You'll know that you're in the right place because there's a workbench there as well. Later on in the level, right after you drop onto the flooded street, there's going to be a short swim, and then you're going to climb up and head toward a parking garage. The artifact that you're going to find in here is going to be up on the upper level of the parking garage. You're just going to have to climb up a little bit, and it's going to be right there along with some other loot. The next area of interest is going to be an old library or bookstore, or I don't know, maybe it's a combination of the two. But in there, you're going to find a journal entry next to a large mushroom. There's also an artifact on one of the desks. And underneath, you have to crawl under for this one. It's kind of hard to find. It's kind of right after that area where you dropped down in originally. On the shelves there's going to be a trading card for you. Continue playing the level until you go up against some WLF soldiers. Of particular note, there is a sniper up above a construction area, and he's next to a building. Inside that building, on the second level, there's another note to Jules on the wall. The final 2 items in this section were kind of hard for me to find, so I'm going to have a pretty lengthy walkthrough in the video section here. Keep an eye out for buildings with mannequins in them. Not the first building with mannequins, but around the corner, just to the left, there's going to be another building with mannequins. And you'll know you're in the right place because there will be a big dirt path that you have to climb up. Once you're in there, you're going to find a workbench. The final collectible in this level is really tricky to find. It also happens to be in a room right around one of those doors that you can't go back in. When you drop down into this building on the screen right now, you'll be able to find a trading card on this shelf right here. The next section is called the Flooded City. The Flooded City contains 6 artifacts, 2 trading cards, 1 journal entry, 2 workbenches, and 1 safe. At the beginning of the level, in the very first building that you enter with your boat, continue until you find an area with a closed gate. What you're going to want to do is get off the boat, turn around, and there's going to be a trading card inside this desk drawer. There's going to be a small locked storage area right next to it. If you go upstairs in this area and look out the window at the Ferris wheel, you should be able to pick up a journal entry. There's an artifact in the same room, just look in the corner, and then make your way into that locked area. Once you're inside the locked area, open the safe with the combination 70, 12, 64. After you've finished picking through everything in the safe, get back in the boat and continue until you get to the sleep warehouse. You'll know that you're at the right place because you have to break through windows to get through this building. Instead of going through the building right away though, turn left and you'll find a hidden area with a workbench. And just like with all the other workbench locations, be sure to conduct a thorough search of the area so that you can find tools to upgrade your weapons. Continue through the Seattle Sleep Warehouse, and on the right you'll see another area with an artifact in it. Continue on in your boat until you come across a building with some seraphites in it. On the second floor of the building where they were stationed, there's going to be another note to Jules. Just before the entrance to the camp, there's going to be a crashed train. You can run up into this train, climb a rope, and find an artifact. Once you're done with the train, get back into your boat, and you're going to go all the way to the arcade. The arcade is going to have a locked gate just like before, and this time the gate's mechanisms are blocked. We're going to have to fix that. But before you do that, you can find an artifact on the first floor on a table. You can also find a workbench on the second floor of the arcade. There's going to be a small cart that you're going to have to move, and after you move that cart, you're going to have access to the concession stand prize area, where you can find a trading card, as well as one last artifact on the wall of the second floor. That artifact is right by this archway, on the wall next to some computers. The final section of Seattle Day 3 is called Infiltration. It only contains one journal entry. This journal entry is near the end of the level, and you're going to be in some sort of a kitchen area, and just to the left of the refrigerator there's going to be a duffel bag. Interact with the duffel bag to unlock the journal entry. That's going to take us into Chapter 5, which is called The Park. Chapter 5 only contains one section, with 3 artifacts and 1 coin. This is one of those spoilers that I was talking about earlier. Starting in this chapter, you're going to play as Abby. At the beginning of this level, you're already going to have 2 out of the 3 artifacts in your inventory. The third and final artifact can be found on a bench in a gazebo right next to this building with the dumpsters. And the only coin in this level is going to be right on top of the dumpsters, and you pretty much can't miss it. This is just the game's way of telling you that, hey, we're done with the trading cards and we're going to start collecting coins now. That takes us into Chapter 6, which is also called Seattle Day 1. The first section is called the Stadium, and it includes 4 coins. The first coin you're going to find as soon as you get your backpack and leave your room. Just turn left and look down on the ground. The second coin is going to be to the right of some stairs next to these wash tubs. The third coin is going to be at the entrance to this tunnel. Just look down and to the right for that one. Down that tunnel, there's going to be a shooting range where Manny challenges you to a shootout. If you're able to beat him in the shootout and get a higher score than he does, you're going to unlock the hidden sharpshooter trophy. Then once you leave the shooting range, just continue down the tunnel, turn left at the end, and you're going to find the fourth and final coin of this section. The next section of Seattle Day 1 is called On Foot. On Foot contains 1 artifact, 4 coins, 1 safe, and 1 workbench. As soon as the level starts, just turn to the right, you'll find a coin there. The second coin is a little bit harder to find. There are going to be 2 sets of cash registers in this greenhouse area. The very last cash register in the second section of cash registers has a coin near it. After you get that coin, go ahead and work your way out of the greenhouse, and you're going to come up to a building that you're going to need a rope to enter. Once you've entered that rope building, go through the door and turn to the left. There should be a workbench right there next to it. In the same room with the workbench, you can also find the recipe for the pipe bomb if you don't have it already. Next, you're going to want to explore this room until you find a ladder, and right next to the ladder, there's a place where you can put it up on the wall, climb up the ladder, check the table to find another coin. Take the ladder with you and use it as a bridge to get into this boat. Inside the boat, you'll be able to find a training manual. After you leave the large room with the boat and the workbench, then you're going to work your way back to the ground, and then you're going to come across a trailer. Break the window, climb inside the trailer, you'll be able to find an artifact and a coin. In the building right across from the trailer, you're going to find a crack in the wall. Squeeze your way through this crack to enter a room with a safe. This safe contains another new weapon called the hunting pistol, and the combination to this safe is 17, 38, 7. After you've cleaned out this safe, continue playing until you get to the FOB. The forward operating base is its own section. It contains 1 workbench, 3 coins, and 1 artifact. The first coin in this section is found behind a group of soldiers who's chatting. It's going to be right under the railing. In this front opening section of the FOB, you can also find a workbench, and there's a coin on a green crate next to a soldier that's sitting down. Once you've found all these items, proceed through the medical tent and into the building. Inside the building, you can find an artifact right by the door, and a coin on the table next to some soldiers. That completes all the collectibles in the forward base, and you're going to move on to the next section, which is called the aquarium. The aquarium contains no collectibles. The next section is called Hostile Territory. It contains 12 artifacts, 1 coin, 1 workbench, 1 safe, 1 hidden trophy, and 1 kind of collectible. The kind of collectible is something that you'll find on your way down out of the base with Manny. It's often a little bedroom, and once you pick it up and start reading it, he's going to grab it from you, so you don't get to keep this one, but it is kind of a funny little Easter egg you can find in the game. The first real collectible in this level is going to be in a little building off to the left. When you hear Appy complain about a smell, there's going to be a window you can climb into, and in there you're going to find an artifact on this body. There's also a chance to get a training manual in here as well. The next coin might be a little bit difficult to find. You have to climb a car, climb a truck, and climb into this apartment building. Once you're in here, there's a desk drawer that contains a coin. Continue working your way through the level until you come to the Jasmine Bakery. Inside the Jasmine Bakery, there's going to be a safe. We don't have the combination for it yet, but it's going to be 689689 if you want to go ahead and open it right now. Doesn't really matter, we're going to be coming back to this area real soon anyway. Right next to the Jasmine Bakery, there's a stairway you can go up, climb the stairs, long jump across. There are going to be a few things in this area right here. If you go to the right and go up the stairs, you're going to find an artifact on a dead body. If you go to the left, you're going to find an artifact on top of a bunch of boxes. In the room just beyond the artifact on top of the boxes, there's going to be another artifact right next to a fan. This artifact is a special one, it's called Strange Relic, and it unlocks a hidden trophy called Relic of the Sages. Once you've collected both of these artifacts and the artifact from the dead body at the top of the stairs that we already talked about, drop down into the hole where you can find a new weapon. You're going to need to fight your way out of the area where you find the new weapon, and then you're going to end up back in front of the Jasmine Bakery. If you haven't already opened that safe, go ahead and do so. Like I said before, the combination is 68, 96, 89. Exiting this area, you're going to come up to a truck that you're going to open up to reveal pictures of the strange lady as well as several artifacts. There are a total of 6 artifacts attached to the truck on the inside and out, so be sure to collect all of them before you move on. Just to the right of the truck, there's going to be a building which contains another artifact, as well as the holster for the short guns. Once you've collected that artifact, climb onto the truck and play through the next section until you find yourself on the rooftop. Once you're on the rooftop, and you'll know when that happens, you'll be able to find a workbench as well as an artifact right next to it on a table. Go ahead and continue playing until you get to the next section, which is called Winter Visit. In Winter Visit, we don't have any collectibles at all, but there is one hidden trophy called Put My Name Up. To unlock this trophy, you need to interact with this purple toy bow. That's going to start a minigame, and you need to score at least 10. This challenge is pretty straightforward. There are a couple things to keep in mind though. First, you have as long as you want to scout out the area looking for as many targets as you can find before you start the challenge. And second, the toy bow has a significant drop-off, so if you're far away from the target, you're going to have to aim up quite a bit for your arrows to hit the target. Once you've earned the trophy and finished this section, you're going to move on to the next section. The next section is called the Forest. The Forest contains 1 artifact and 1 workbench. All of the collectibles in this section are going to be inside an auto repair shop, and they should all be pretty obvious, especially the workbench. Just past the workbench, there's going to be an employee kitchen. On the table, you can find an artifact, and right next to the water cooler, you can find another training manual. The next section is called the Coast. The Coast contains 3 artifacts, 4 coins, 1 workbench, and 1 safe. The very first building you're in has a workbench right inside the first door, so that's pretty obvious. In the back room of that same building, you can find the long gun holster. Once you're out of this building, you're going to be in an outdoor area. Continue through that area until you have to climb up a big ramp. When you get to the top of the ramp, just turn right and you'll be able to find a coin next to this body. And be sure to do that before you try to jump across this gap. Eventually, you're going to find yourself inside a ship. Once you get inside the ship, you're going to have to go through an infirmary. One of the beds in the infirmary has an artifact on it. Continue through the ship and eventually you will come across the crossbow, which is the next weapon. At the end of the hall where you found the crossbow, there's going to be an artifact. There's going to be a narrow hallway connecting the hallway that you're in right now, the one where you found the crossbow, with another long hallway. Take that connector hallway and turn to the right to find a coin. At this point, you're going to need to make your way to the deck of the ship. Just behind the stairway that you take to get to the deck of the ship, there's going to be a safe. The combination of that safe is 90, 77, 1. There's also a good chance that you'll find a training manual in this room. Make your way to the other side of the deck of the ship, and you'll be in a room with a ladder and a dead body. The dead body will contain an artifact, and at the top of the ladder you can turn around and check right behind you for a coin. We only have one more coin to find in this section, and it's going to be at the fountain. That fountain is right in front of the aquarium. Just look down and you should be able to see the coin in the water. The final section of Seattle Day 1 is called Return to the Coast. I have no idea why this is included in Seattle Day 1 because it's clearly the next day, but that's a story for another time. In Return to the Coast, you're just going to backtrack your path a little ways. There are no collectibles, but you are going to pass a workbench again, so you'll have another chance to upgrade your weapons. Once you finish this section, you will be done with Chapter 6, Seattle Day 1. Chapter 7 is called Seattle Day 2, and the first section is called The Shortcut. This section contains 6 artifacts, 2 coins, 2 workbenches, and 1 safe. The first artifact in this section is a freebie that you'll have in your inventory when the section begins. You can collect a coin inside the barber shop right by the cash register. In the area where you have to jump back and forth across the rushing water, there will be an artifact in front of a door. You can also get into this room if you go around behind it. In the apartment above where you found that artifact, you'll be able to find another artifact on a table right next to a whiteboard. There's also a safe in this apartment. The combination of that safe is 30, 23, 4. Play through the level until you come to a store called Interbay Wireless. Inside this store, you'll find a workbench and an artifact next to a dead body. There's another business called Westport Optics, and it has a coin on the awning outside one of the windows. There's an area that Lev crosses through differently than you because he's a little bit more agile and less afraid of heights than Abby. In Abby's alternate path in this area, there's a computer lab, and you can find an artifact on one of the tables. At the top of one of the ladders, you'll find another painting of the Seraphite Prophet. In this area, you'll find a workbench. And finally, at the very end of the section, after you ride up the elevator with Lev, you'll find an artifact on the wall next to one of the doorways. That's the final collectible in this section, and that takes us to the next section, which is called the Descent. The Descent contains 3 artifacts, 5 coins, and 1 safe. Play through this section until you get to a swimming pool. At the very bottom of the swimming pool, next to the grate, you can find a coin. Once you leave the swimming pool, you're going to be in an area which looks like it used to be a gym. Search the kitchen of the gym to find an artifact. There's a small closet on the other side of the gym which contains the safe. The combination to the safe is 12, 18, 79. This is the final safe in the game. If you've unlocked every other safe, then congratulations on your new Safecracker trophy. Outside the gym, there's going to be a doorway leading to a stairway. There's a corpse in the stairway which contains another artifact. Drop down into the next section using the rope provided. In a room just next to where you land, there's going to be an artifact on the ground. In this area, there are going to be quite a few narrow planks that you're going to have to balance your way across, and at the end of one of the planks, there's going to be a soldier in a bathroom. Search that soldier to get your next new weapon. The next collectible you're going to be able to find is right after you fight a shambler. After you fight the shambler and drop down to the next level, turn around to find a doorway behind you that you can jump into to find the Oregon coin. This is a little bit hard to describe, but just watch the video and I'm sure you'll be able to find this coin no problem. After you find yourself at the bottom of the elevator shaft, turn left and in the vending machine you'll be able to find another coin. This is going to take you to an outdoor area and you'll be able to find another coin near the cash register at the bar in the outdoor lounge area. The last coin in this section can be found inside the wolf base. Once you get inside the base, take an immediate right turn and you should be able to find a coin at the end of the hallway. The next section is called Ground Zero and it contains 5 artifacts, 2 coins, and 1 workbench. You can find the first coin near a cash register right before the long tunnel that you go down when you're traveling with Nora. After you separate from Nora and before you drop down into the next area, you'll be able to crawl through this doorway and find an artifact on a dead body. Once you do drop down into the next area, there will be a dead body with an artifact right next to a turnstile. There will also be an artifact inside the chapel. You'll go through several long tunnels that take you into the quarantine area. Inside the quarantine area, there's going to be a door with the number 24 on it. Break the window next to the door to get into this room and find another artifact. Before you turn on the power, you have to follow some cables through a hole in the wall. On a desk under the hole in the wall, you can find another artifact. Follow the cables all the way into the back room where you'll find a workbench. Finally, the last collectible that we have in this level is at the very end of the level when you're in a flooded parking garage. There's a small booth right next to the end of this parking garage where you can break the glass and find a coin. The final section of Seattle Day 2 is called Return to the Aquarium, and it contains no collectibles. Chapter 8 is called Seattle Day 3, and the first section in Chapter 8 is called the Marina. The Marina contains 1 artifact and 2 coins. The first coin is at the very beginning of the level. Instead of following your companion down, walk all the way to the top, and next to the railing you'll find a coin. The second coin is in that same general area. Once you get down to the ground, there will be a train station. On the outside of the ramp to get up to the train, you'll be able to find a coin. In the area where you leave your companion, there's going to be a ladder. Before you go onto the ladder, jump to the next section and search the concession stand to find an artifact. You can play through the rest of this section without worrying about missing any collectibles. And our next collectible is going to be when you start the next section, which is called the Island. The island contains 4 artifacts, 3 coins, and 1 workbench. Toward the beginning of this area, there's going to be a large hill that you're going to climb with your companion. Climb into the back of the truck at the top of this hill to find a coin. According to the IGN guide, there can also be a training manual in the back of this truck, so be sure to keep an eye out for that too. Once you exit the truck, there are going to be some dead bodies. One of them has an artifact. Continue going through the level, and at some point you're going to come to some waterfalls. There's going to be a car next to these waterfalls, and it's going to have a coin in the back left door. The first set of buildings that you come to will be abandoned, but there will be an artifact in the center building. At some point you're going to have a goal to reach the lumber mill. When this happens, turn to the left and climb up the ladder. You'll find a coin in the second floor of this building. The next collectible is going to be after you see the beginnings of the attack. be sure to explore this pair of buildings and you'll be able to find an artifact on one of the beds, and a workbench in the same building. The other building is a Shrine to the Prophet and it contains an artifact. That artifact is the final collectible in this section, and the next time you'll need this guide is when you're trying to escape the island. The next section is called the Escape. The Escape contains 1 coin and 1 workbench. During the Escape, when you're following Yara and Lev, they're going to have you go under a truck which says Harsht Brewer. Before you climb under this truck, be sure to collect the coin next to the shopping cart in the grass right beside the truck. This is the final coin in the game, and if you've collected all the coins up to this point, you should unlock the Numismatist trophy. During the Escape, you're going to need to boost Lev up onto a ladder. After you get to the top of the ladder, turn right, climb into the window of the building, and upgrade your weapons at the workbench. The final section of Seattle Day 3 is called the Confrontation, and it contains no collectibles. Chapter 9 is called the Farm. Play through this chapter without worrying about any collectibles, and meet me back here when you're ready to start Chapter 10, Santa Barbara. The first section of Chapter 10 is called 2425 Constance, and it contains 1 artifact. Once you locate 2425 Constance, just go into the building across the street where you can find the one and only artifact in this section. The second section of Santa Barbara is called Pushing Inland. Pushing Inland contains 3 artifacts, 1 trading card, 1 journal entry, and 1 workbench. As soon as this section begins, look to the counter on the left to find an artifact. Make your way up the hill and look for an open garage next to a moving vehicle. Inside the garage, there's going to be an artifact. After you collect this artifact, you're going to make your way into the mansion. Climb into the window on the 2nd story of the mansion to find a trading card. Explore the 1st floor of the mansion to find an artifact on the kitchen island right next to a workbench. Crawl out of the mansion to look at the gorgeous view overlooking Santa Barbara, and you'll be able to pick up a journal entry. Make your way down the hill, and that's going to take you to the end of this section. And this is the one we've all been waiting for. The final section of the game, which contains any collectibles that you need for the trophies, is called the Resort. The Resort contains 2 artifacts, 1 trading card, 1 journal entry, and 1 workbench. If you've collected everything in the game up to this point, then huge shout out to you, congratulations, and you're going to be unlocking several trophies throughout this section. The very first trophy should be at the beginning of the section, where you'll unlock High Caliber for collecting every weapon in the game. While you're making your way down this street, as you get past the train ticket station, there's going to be a van which you can interact with to unlock the final journal entry. Continue making your way down this street, and at one point you'll climb on top of a tanker and look at the next area. As soon as you drop down from that tanker, turn to the left and explore the area next to these barrels. There's going to be a dead body which contains an artifact. Squeeze through the fence, and in this area you'll be able to find a workbench in the central location. If you've found every other workbench in the game, then this should unlock the Prepare for the Worst trophy. In this same area, you'll be able to find the last trading card in the game on top of a table just to the right of a doorway. If you've collected every card in the game up to this point, that should unlock the Master Set trophy. The final artifact of the game is inside the home, at the top of the stairs, on a table. And if you've collected every artifact and every journal entry up to this point, that will unlock the Archivist trophy. At this point in the game, you can have every single trophy except for the Platinum trophy, the Arms Master trophy, the Survival Expert trophy, and last but not least, the What I Had to Do trophy for completing the game. To unlock those final trophies, complete the game and then start New Game Plus. You're going to need to play through about Seattle Day 2 as Abby, maybe even Seattle Day 3, in order to find all the supplements and parts you need to upgrade all of your weapons and unlock all the skills. And if you're looking for even more great Platinum Trophy guides like this one, be sure to leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my future uploads. And as always, thank you very much for watching.